I wanted to create a quick website, and what libraries do we have actually to create a website? So you know that PyPy, Python package index, and if I go there, you can find libraries. If you go browse, you can browse by topic, development status, okay, and the environment. So here there is actually web environment, and there are a lot of libraries here, and which one to choose depends on the case study, your requirement. Okay, so if you wanted to really, it is a big project, you would go for the framework end-to-end development. If it is actually time critical, real time, you want actually uh, and asynchronous non-blocking, you would go for a twisted or tornadoes like libraries. Here for search www and HTTP, and so there are a lot of libraries here. 10,000 plus projects are there. So those are actually, some of them are project Django, and some of them are for Flask. Okay, what are major? And there is actually a website called avesomepython.com, and there you can really find out a major. This list is not exhaustive, a complete list. You can find out different third-party libraries, frameworks for Python. So if I go here, web development, okay, here web frameworks, and you can see here web frameworks. What are those here? There is a synchronous, which is Django, Flask, Pyramid, okay, and then asynchronous Tornado. Yeah, we have here. So the Flask is a most popular web framework, which is in a Python Django, and these are quite less used, and these two are synchronous. And asynchronous non-blocking, for the time critical stuff, you may wanted to use Tornado or Twisted. So you have here Flask. Okay, so if I click on a Flask, it will take you through their official site. So this is a Flask is a web development micro framework, web development framework, which is lightweight. So how can I install that one? Pip 3 install Flask. And if you go to PyPy, Python package index, and there also you can search for that Flask. Okay. So how to install? This is a code, pip install Flask, and I have installed that. Okay. So to verify whether I have the Flask or not, you have to go to Python, import Flask. If you don't see any error, which means that you have successfully installed that Flask. Okay. Another way is actually Python and Flask. Sorry, how to use Python 3. Okay. So likewise, M stands for run module as a script. Okay. So this is another way. If that module is available, you would see. Okay. Otherwise, if that module is not available, something random, a garbage queue here, you would see an error. Okay. No module named. Okay. If you don't see any error or some help message, okay, it means that you have installed that successfully. Now let's write some code for Flask. Okay. So, and I have created myapp.py. Here, import. How do you create? How do you run a? You have here the small. If you go to minimal application, this is the documentation, the whole documentation for Flask. Now, how do you know what is available, what functions are available, how to use it? You got to read the documentation. So we wanted to run very simple minimal application. You can see here. This is how you can import, and from the Flask, you would need to create the app. and then you can start writing views by binding each view, each function to particular URL. So here from Flask import Flask app equal to, okay, Flask, and at the rate, this is called decorator app, okay, at the rate. Okay, what is decorator? We will see. App.route, and I want it home. Okay, let's create a home page. Print request received, and we wanted to return welcome. This is a test website. Okay, and how to run this application. So we have here that there are different ways to run the Flask app. One way is actual to set environment variable. Another way is actually Flask command, and you to app you have to pass that module without py. Okay, another way is to set environment variable Flask underscore app, and you can simply run Flask underscore run. So this is a development server. So to run this Flask, let's go this way. Flask and Flask, and then use a command line option -app. And so what is my name of this file? My app. I don't have to give that extension .py, and then run. Okay, so check this thing out. I'm actually inside a code directory. I'm not inside web. Let's go inside a web. Okay, Python 3 -7 Flask app. So we missed something. So when we are writing, so we haven't passed this takes at least one argument. So for the app, so we haven't passed that. So let's give that one. Okay. See, it is running at 127.0.0.1 and colon 500. Let's call that thing. Let's try. $5,000. And what is the URL? Which is /home, right? Yeah. So since we haven't defined the root URL, so that is what you found. That is why we see here not found. And if I put /home, you see this welcome. This is test website. And let's write homepage. Let's write @app.route. This is home, uh, homepage, index page. And then I wanted to return some formatted text. So multi-line. So that is the reason I took a multi-line string. Div or h1. Hello. Welcome. This is a HTML. Then div. Let's give color. Style equal to color red, and div style equal to color blue. This is a HTML, okay, hyper text markup language, HTML. So this is what browsers understands this and renders that the formatted text. So you will see, let's see that, how if it is actually sent. If I go to this website, can you see here? If I look at this thing, inspect, if you see this thing here, this is whole HTML. Okay, hypertext markup language that browser is able to understand, interpret, and render that page appropriately. For suppose if you see here, this is a background is blue. Okay, so this is by using CSS. That is what the HTML and CSS. HTML is like a skeleton. CSS is a presentation. JavaScript is actually for functionality we use. And if I disable this thing, you can see that is no longer in blue. And I can change that in that color. Okay, you see this one. Okay, so this is what browser understands. Browser gets this whole text from the server. Okay, and once it receives this hypertext markup language, like Python, we are learning. The browsers do understand this HTML, hypertext markup language. This is a markup language, and in that language we use tags. Okay, you can see here body is a tag. Okay, div is a tag, and header is a tag. Header stands for this whole header. If I go here, there is actually in a site header, you can see here this icon you will see. So div is a generic element. Okay, and you can see the navigation here. Each navigation, you can see the navigation, right? UL stands for unordered list. You can see help, okay, sponsors, and login. If I go here, this inside that, if I change help to contact us, and you see this thing, okay, that is changed. Okay, so front-end web developers take care of this thing. So they know what tags to use and how to make these pages. They write the HTML hypertext markup language appropriately, and they use proper tags and combination and the CSS so that the page can be made in a desired manner. So when it comes to full stack developers, which means that backend developers, who are backend developers? Backend developers take care of this. Okay, backend Python coding. And front-end developers take care of creating these web pages. Front-end web designer creates this mockups. Designer doesn't code; he makes up these mockups. Okay, designs. See, those are markups. There are some very much tools like Adobe XD, Adobe XD, and Figma. These are different tools that designers use. That there are these are different tools in the industry. Adobe XD and Sketch and Figma. Those are very much quite uh, popular, and they are used to create website markups. Who create them? Those are UX designers or front-end designers. They make up the mockups. Okay, mockups look like this. They are images. How to design a website? Those markups are given to front-end web developer. Okay, so what developer does? Developer, like we're discussing, so he creates he puts together HTML, CSS, and functionality is required JavaScript, and creates this page. And what backend developer does, he codes the backend logic. When request comes, what to do, and when particular page is requested, what to respond, and how to process. If payment is requested, how to process payment request is sent. And this is a three-tier architecture. as a simple three-tier architecture, how it works. So you have the client, the presentation layer, to which it contains a client like a Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, and Chrome. And the request is sent to the business logic backend server, which contains the web server and application server. The web server usually the Apache or Nginx, and the application server that can be the Flask or Django, and then database like a MySQL, PostgreSQL, or other NoSQL databases like MongoDB, Cassandra are connected. And so when request is sent to the backend server, and if required, it communicates with the database and sends back the response to the server. So response to the client, which means what is a client? I mean to infer client means a browser running on a system, user system, computer, or a browser running on your phone or app, and they actually display what is sent back to them. And here for communication, when it comes to web, the communication happens in a HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, so and those pages, when the response is sent to this client, that is sent in a sent through HTTP as a HTML. Now HTML, once it is received by the browser, a browser shows that, renders that. So, and you can see here, if I request and there is a network tab, if I refresh, it makes a lot of calls. Can you see? These are all network requests that are sent to the server. And this is a page, this is a URL it's requesting, and you can see the response it is receiving. Can you see? The whole response is as HTML page. Okay, and this page is rendered like this, whatever you see here. Okay, and you can see, if you want, just search this thing, you will find it here. And can you see here the same thing here? Pre-code, pip space install, and can you see the code? Install. Can you see this? Install and update using, and the same text here, and the code, the same text that is actually. So since it is kept in a code tag, and this is why you see this in a different, this is rendered differently. So it is shown differently from this text, right? Why? Because this is kept in a code tag. So like that, we have a lot of code, a lot of tags, and front-end web developers take care of this, and back-end web developers take care of this, back-end logic, business logic, and so they both communicate together, and that is where a team work comes into play, and so they integrate front-end into the back-end, and so many times the communication from front end, a client to the server, happens not in a API, through API as well. In that case, we use JSON, JavaScript object notation, or XML. So when you take a full stack web developer, so this is a two developers job. So backend web developer and front end developer. So they both in a team, they both coordinate together and work together and make up a website. When you take a full stack developer, he is only the person who takes care of everything, creating a front end web page as well as a back end business logic, and then integrate. So that is what I'm actually writing here, the small markup here, so that it is rendered or differently. So let's give here background color as well. Body means whole, body, the whatever is displayed on the page, and give the for body give background color, okay, gray, okay, and so blue, and width, and specify width, which is the 500 pixel. Height, it should be 600 pixel, and give the background color so you can see it, and give it light green, or I can use this hash code, a hex code, sorry, which is give red FC 02 and 3B, and okay, and give some content. Welcome to Flask. Okay. And so go to our site. Where is this one? And nothing is changed here. And we wrote the new link, right? Homepage. And still it is not shown. Some error. So I'm not returning that. I have to return that body. See, previously I didn't return, and now I'm returning. Now run this. And can you see here the background is gray, and the title is red. Can you see? And this div I have given a width and height, and you see if I go to view page source, if I click on view page source for any website, and you can see the what content you got from the server. So what is actually the source code that made up this page? What source code, what markup is responsible for this page to look like this? And you can right click and go to the page source, and you can see the whole source code. Can you see this one? I can actually make this thing green, okay, which is 02 EF, and if I refresh, I have to restart the server. You see, yes. This is as an example. Mm, yeah. So you can see this in a different color. Let's give white, this text, white. That is a simple example how you would write your first web application and run that, and how uh, this whole HTML, CSS works, and this is the CSS styles we used here, okay, and how to write different URLs using Flask. There is more to it, which is using SQL Alchemy or MySQL DB and communicating with the database. And you can create, you can use, you can totally write HTML page, a template, and you can return that as template back to the client. So instead of that, you don't, in real world scenario, you don't want to put every, the markup would be this much big. If I go here and right click we pay source, and it would be this big, and you don't want to put that, whole thing in a Python source code, Python file. Instead, you will create a separate files. We call them as templates, HTML pages, and you can render them directly from here using Flask render template. You can import. There is a function called render template. Yeah. So how that is done? Let me show you that. Can you see here render template? Okay, that is imported, and you can return directly that file. You can specify that file, and that is uh, sent back to the client, and that is so. Instead of having that whole code, since this is just an example to demonstrate, I used it here in real world. So you will have whole this HTML, CSS in separate files, and you will render this. And if required, you can actually use templates, templating variables, where by default it uses Jinja. Can you see Jinja 2? It uses, okay, so it's like the same thing, like the Python templating we have. We use a format function to fill in those templates, gaps, the curly braces. So same thing is with this one. If you wanted to fill anything, when you are returning, so you can use in here in when it comes to Flask, when you use Jinja templating engine, you use double curly braces. And when you render, those variables will be filled with the values you have in that you have passed. Okay, here you can see here the how it is situated. You have application.py, inside templates folder you have hello.py, and you can actually in application, so this, sorry, not hello.py, hello.html, and from there you when you are creating a Flask app, you can pass a template dir uh, attribute it takes, and through that you can also specify where to look for templates.